And we are live for the Power Chat series. I have a special guest here today, Brett Thomason, the winner of multiple divisions at the Wheat State Nationals. So I'm really excited to have you, Brett. How are you doing today?
Thanks. I'm doing great today. Today is an awesome day.
That's
So,
great. So you competed at the Wheat State Nationals. Let's just start out of the gate. Tell me how that tournament went for you and what you won there.
it was great. It was a great weekend. It was a Pro Mac tournament. We went. Tom Hinkle runs an awesome event. I've been a few times, and it's always everything runs on time. He's got a good team behind him with his parents and his support system to help run the rings. He always has judges that come in and help him, and we keep it running, and we're in and out. With COVID, everybody's kind of going to the schedules and the sessions, which has
Mhm.
been awesome. So something that will stick around hopefully post pandemic. But it was great. Sessions started on time. They ended on time. It was fantastic.
That sounds like a development that, like you said, came from COVID that I think a lot of competitors, judges, and spectators hope stays the sessions. So you don't have like fighters bouncing up, getting ready, warming up, and then told to wait 3 hours later. Sorry, just kidding. So it's a great development that hopefully lasts. And tell everyone what you won there.
So I did weapons. I jumped back. Normally I do traditional weapons, and I jumped back into creative this weekend. So that was fun. I won creative weapons, traditional weapons, and then I won point fighting, the open fighting division, and continuous fighting as
And
well.
then you also won the grands as well for that.
I did. I won the overall weapons grand, and I won the overall sparring grand. I did not do forms this weekend. Normally I do traditional forms, and I stepped out of that. I had a student of mine, Dominic Lancaster, jump in, and this was actually his very first tournament as an adult, and he was able to win the traditional forms, and then actually win the open hand forms grand.
That's
So,
great. I mean, it seems like you and your students did really well. Any other students there competing at the Wheat State Nationals?
yeah, we had a great weekend. I had two other junior students that went with us, and they both did really well. I had a student who ended up with second place overall in the overall grand with his bow in his third tournament ever, I think. And another student who's been with me for a while and mostly does private lessons, and he did very well also.
Great. So, do you want to tell the audience a little bit more about yourself and your martial arts background?
Sure. So I started martial arts when I was 6 years old. Um, I grew up in the '90s, so obviously I was a Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers. I was that kid,
Mhm.
and my mom finally let me take a karate lesson. And so we went to the school up the street, and it turned out to be a great school. I stuck around. It was my first class was with Terry Kramer, uh,
Mhm.
who's a legend in sport karate and sport martial arts, and just happened to walk into the right school at the right time, and was able to kind of come up under Mr. Kramer. I was lucky enough to start training with him and go to tournaments and get all my ranks, all my black belts, everything under him. Travel the country,
Mhm.
make a few teams, get to travel around and do a lot uh, because of him.
What a great first instructor to have, because I feel like in some situations with martial artists, they start at a local school who doesn't necessarily compete on an international or national level, and you kind of jumped right into it. And Mr. Kramer still competes in multiple divisions in the senior division. So you won weapons, you won fighting, and you normally do forms. So tell us a little bit more about how well rounded you are as a martial artist.
Now, real quick, you said that he normally competes. He still competes in the senior division. He will
Yes.
drop down. Don't make him mad. He will come after us. I'm in the 30 plus division now, but he will drop down. He'll take on the 30-year-olds, the 18-year-olds. He'll beat everybody still.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely can, but there's also such great competition in the senior
There
division
is.
itself. So definitely,
There
definitely,
is.
he can take on anybody.
Yes, 100%. So growing up, tournaments were just something that we did because that's what we saw. That's what we grew up with. He was traveling around the country. He was always on a different team and always going to tournaments, and we would just load up the van and go. And we talked about, and you just mentioned that I did weapons, fighting, and forms. I didn't do forms this weekend, but that was never an option to not do something. He was always someone who said if we were going to be a well-rounded martial artist, we had to do all three. We had to do our forms, we had to do fighting, and we had to do weapons as well. And that's something that you know it was just never an option for us to not do forms or to not fight. Uh, we did everything, and I think that really, kind of shaped who I am as a martial artist and who I aspire to um, let my students see and what they do. So all my students that went this weekend, they did everything.
Yeah, I think that uh, I also do forms, weapons, and fighting, and I definitely think it's a philosophy. The idea of being well rounded, and I think that translates. At least it does in my eyes. It translates beyond the mat. And just being a well-rounded person, a well-rounded student, and not dropping off things that may be important to you, or recognizing the importance of doing all three things that make you a martial artist. So I was going to ask, do you instill that philosophy into your students? And it seems like you do, and you're wearing a Premier Martial Arts shirt. So tell us a bit more about your two schools.
100%. So our students not they don't just have to excel in martial arts. We try to teach about the whole person. We teach to the whole student. So school just started back up in St. Louis, and all of our kids are going back to school. We're making sure that they're on their grades. That if they're in other activities, that everything we do, we only settle for excellence. So we're always setting goals and kind of reaching out to those, reaching to that next level all the time. Um, I have two schools here in St. Louis. They're both premier martial arts locations. Um, and like I said earlier, I started in Ishinru Karate with Terry Kramer, and I've kind of developed into moved into the premier martial arts curriculum. We do kickboxing, some Krav Maga, a little bit of ground defense, jujitsu, but we still do that karate base as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a good mix of stuff in our class.
So this is kind of like a two-part question. As a martial artist and a business owner, what led you to the decision to pursue a premier martial arts curriculum in schools?
Well, I was teaching high school, so I started teaching at Mr. Kramer School for years and years and years. And when I graduated college, I started teaching high school English, and I was in the classroom for 5 years, and was getting phone calls from friends of mine who owned PMA locations, and they said, hey, this is what you should do. You love martial arts, you love teaching. I owned actually an ice cream shop at the time as well. They said you can do the business thing. This is where you need to be. And so I called Mr. Vanover. I called Mr. Baker, our CEO, and talked to them about signing up, and ended up with one school and another school really, really quickly after that. Kind of fell into my lap. So that was it. I had some great friends who said, if you want to make a good living and make an impact in your community, and be able to really change some lives, this is where you need to be. And I jumped on, and it's been great. It's been great.
So one school is tough to manage. Add on another. Add on the fact that we're in a pandemic, still in the pandemic. How are you managing all of those responsibilities?
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. I have a great team around me. I have a lot of people who help. I've got some great employees, some partners. I've got a lot of people who are helping, along with just the structure that our corporate offices provide through Premier, has been eye opening. The corporate structure that they have and the way that they have set everything up. I just follow directions pretty much.
Yes, and you also inspire your students to compete as well. So what is the next tournament that is on your school's agenda or schedule?
The next tournament that I'm doing is actually the tournament that I am hosting. So when I started Premier, I kind of took a step back. I had a son, and then I had a daughter, and then we started a family. And so I took a big step back from tournaments for a while, and I'm just now getting to the point where I can go out and start competing again. My son actually is 4 years old, and he competed in his first tournament this year, and did great. Went out and did his form, and so we've started competing again. And I've done a couple tournaments here recently, and I'm actually hosting a tournament in September, on September 25th in St. Louis, called Battle for the Arch, and that's the next one on our agenda. We're going to do some awesome things. We've got, of course, forms, weapons, and fighting. We also have our continuous fighting division. We've got flag sparring for kids. We have a recreational division for like our first timers and maybe our kids who aren't quite ready to compete in tournaments, but they still want to go out and be a part of something. So we have all those divisions. We're also doing for our adults tag team sparring, which is so much fun.
It is. It's fun for the fighter. It's fun for the spectator. It's a little stressful for the judges, but it's a great division. It's always fun when a promoter puts that on.
It's so fun. It's so fun. So we're going to do, so like I said, we've got our regular forms, weapon sparring, we've got continuous sparring, we've got flag sparring, we've got our rec division, and then we've got the tag team sparring for our adults. So it's going to be a great day, September 25th.
Okay. All right. So anybody watching, make sure you hit that tournament up. And my last question for you is, you have a new family. I'm assuming if your son competed at his first tournament, hopefully your daughter will too. What's the main takeaway, the biggest lesson that your kids hope your kids take away from martial arts?
I was very fortunate. When I started martial arts, I was very, very fortunate to be around people who were great role models. And I was able to see how people work, how they have a great work ethic. I was able to see how people set goals and reach those goals. And I was able to see how people balance all the different things that come up in life. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really hope for all my students, but for my children especially. Is that they see that it takes hard work, that it takes dedication, and that some days you get up and you have to go to class or you have to go to practice, and it's not exactly what you want to do in that moment, but you set goals and you work until you reach those goals.
Yeah, I definitely second that. I think when people who are in martial arts think about tangible takeaways, they think about being able to defend yourself, which is obviously extremely important. Being able to stay fit and stay active. But for me personally, all the things that you mentioned are things that are so translatable and so important in just living your daily life, whether it be in martial arts, in the classroom, or in the workforce, or with family and friends. So for everybody watching, I hope you had a great show. Thank you so much, Brett, for coming on the Power Chat series.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, yes. And thank you for watching, and congratulations again on your win at the Wheat State Nationals. And I hope to have you back on the show again.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.